Alright, welcome back everybody to our C++ text RPG series. Today we're going to be looking at creating an item and equipment factories. So what is the factory design pattern? The factory design pattern is a creational design pattern that we're going to be using to help us in the creation of objects without actually having to specify their concrete class. We will use this to create items and equipment for our inventory. We will be using it to create inventory for item and equipment shops and many other things. We will be using the polymorphism of our abstract and item classes. In order for this to work, we will need to be returning a pointer to the abstract class. And since you cannot instantiate an abstract class, we are also going to have to create some child classes for the item. We do already have weapon and armor classes for the equipment, and we'll have to eventually create an accessory class. However, we'll do that in a later video. For these videos, we're going to be creating potion, which will be a child of the item class, along with the item factory. So let's take a look at a simple idea or diagram of the factory pattern. So as you can see here, the item factory is used to create the object and return a pointer to this abstract class. Inside the factory, we will determine the type of the concrete class that we want to implement. The concrete class will be a child of one of our abstract classes. So it will be a child of item or equipment. Inside of the factory, we'll have a function called create, or create item, create equipment. And in that function, it will take in the type as an enum of what we want to create, and inside of there it will return one of the child, as well as taking in any arguments that it needs necessary in the creation of the child, and it will return a smart pointer of the child that was created. The concrete class, or the child class, will be a child of the item class, so therefore it will inherit name, description, count, and buy price, as well as these functions. The onUse function is a virtual function, and it will be a pure function that will have to be overloaded. Each child will have to overload this function because they'll have their own, they will have different uses for them. So a potion and a revive will have different uses for the player. Potion will heal health, while revival will bring you back from the dead, or heal a fallen player, or bring a fallen player back from zero and reset their dead flag. Alright, so without further ado, let us create the item creator class. Alright guys, so we have our item and equipment classes. These are our abstract classes that we're going to be using for our item creator. So let's just quickly make, well, we already do have weapon, which is a child class, and the armor, which is also another child class of the equipment. So we'll leave those for now. We'll get into the accessories in a later video. But right now, let's go over here and just create a new item. And we'll call this potion. Potion.h is going to be a child of item. So we're going to have to get item. We're going to want to forward declare the player, because remember we have to overload that onUse function. Class, potion, public item. I think we're only going to need publics for this. Potion. We're going to want the name. We're going to want the description. Health. Buy price. And the item type. And we're going to default to the health type. Actually, we're going to take this out because we will explicitly set it inside of the constructor itself. So let's add potion. Item description. Let's put 10, buy price 10. Sure. Oops. Destructor. And our on use. Override. Okay. Let's make these. So in our structure here, this is where we're going to want to set our name, item name. So let's go back, open up item. Oh, we don't even have an item value, so we're going to need to add that in. We'll just call it item value. Let's go to house. Then we're going to want to set the type. As health. Is there anything else we're going to have to set? Description, buy price, sell price, count will be fine. So let's include there. So the first thing we're going to want to do with the onUse function is just check to see if we even have any. If mCount is less than or equal to 0, we're just going to want to exit. It shouldn't get here. We shouldn't even be, once it's 0, it should actually be removed from our inventory. But we're going to put this check here anyway, just in case. So now we're going to want to get the actual HP of the player. And we're going to want to also get HP max. Is it called max HP? I think that's what we called it. Yep. And then we all want to check if HP is greater or equal to HP max. If it is, we're also going to want to leave, because we're not going to want to try to use an item if it's already beyond the person's maximum HP. So then we can go player dot heal HP m item value, called the decrement function, and we declared the decrement function inside of item, so it's just going to do this here, and then return true. I think that's good for now. If anything else occurs that's causing us issues or this isn't working, we'll take a look at this in a later date. But for now, that should be good. Now, for the fun part, let's go into utilities and we'll add our item creator. All right. Item creator .h. Okay. So in our item creator, it's going to be a template class. So we're going to do it all here. We're going to need a few things. We're going to need memory. I'm going to need string. We're we're going to need concepts. Now, if you haven't used C++20's concepts, we're going to go over a little bit of it here, but I do recommend you check it out. So right here, CPP reference is your friend. So there's constraints and concept that came out in C++20. So there's a little overview here. So yeah, right here, concepts. A concept is a name set of requirement. The definition of a concept must appear at namespace scope. The definition of a concept has this form. So basically the concept is looking to see if it is valid C++. So concept hashable requires that A of type T is hashable and is convertible to size T. At least that's how I see it. The reason why we want to be able to understand concepts is because we're going to be using constructible from, which is defined in concepts. We got our concepts, and we're going to want to use include our items. And equipment. And we're going to create a class, call it the ItemCreator. And we're going to have two private functions. These private functions are going to be the create functions. And in order for us to do this with constructible from, we're going to need to use it twice. So we'll do template, type name, T. Then we're going to want type name, args. So this is for variable number of argument. Then we're going to need to requires std constructible from T args. So it's going to check to see if what we're using is constructible from for this type from the arguments that we give it. So we're going to want our function to be static, and it's going to return a shared pointer of T. The function is going to be called create args. Then we're going to return that shared pointer of T, but we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do std make shared T. And we want to forward those arguments. So if the item that we're trying to create is not actually constructible from the arguments, this is variable arguments that we give it, this won't be called. The compiler will not call this. So we're going to want to make another function . And this one will also be static, but this one is only going to return a null pointer. It's going to have the same signature, so what's going to happen here, we're just going to return null pointer. So what the compiler is going to do, it's going to check to see if the item is constructible from whatever arguments that you put in. If it works, if it is, it's going to return a shared pointer and forward those arguments into the constructor here. If it doesn't, it will just return a null pointer here. So we have to do this so we can cover our constraints, make sure our constraints and our concept are covered. So now we're going to have public and have template class that takes variable arguments, a static, shared pointer of item, and we're going to create item. So what do I want to do here? I want to send in the item type. So item type. And we want to send in variable arguments. So a variable number of arguments will be sent in. And here we're just going to have a simple switch case, and we will switch based on our type of item that we're creating. And then we have case, item type, health, and let's just do all of them. Health, revive, status. What are the other ones? Battle, and key item. And I believe we have a no item, or no type. So this will just return null pointer. And our default will also return null pointer. And for now, so if it is type health here, we're going to want to return the creation of a potion we're going to want to forward the arguments, and that's really it, and it'll create it for us. And if it succeeds, it will return a shared pointer of an item or a potion, and a potion is the child of the item. If it fails, it will return null pointer. So that's what it's doing here. So we basically want to do the same thing for all of these, but we don't have these created right now. So we'll just return null pointer, and we'll call this a to-do. To-do, revive, return null pointer. Whoops. So those are our to-dos. I believe this works. So let's just hit F5 and see if it builds. Okay, so we didn't build. OnUse must return a value. Yes. So we'll fix that. Awesome, so that built. That doesn't mean that it worked, because we're not even trying to create this yet. So let's quickly go into game state. That seems to be where we're making everything. And right here we're creating our party, and we're sending in the inventory. So before we do that, let's just create an item to add to inventory test. Okay, so we're going to want to include, and we want to include potion, because we're going to create a potion, and we need to go into our utilities and get our item creator. Okay, so we have that. So we can go auto potion is equal to item creator, create item, and item type, health type. And what do we need to create a potion? We don't have to put anything in. It should actually work, but we'll put some stuff in. because we did this, we shouldn't have to put anything in but name, description, health, and buy price. So the name, we'll just call this potion. Description, heals a small bit of health. What was it again? Sorry. The amount of health that it does do, and buy price. So the amount of health it does, we'll put 25, and buy price is 50. Cool. We can go party get inventory, add item, std move potion, and that should work. So we'll set a breakpoint right here at the player before the player is created and see what we get. See if it builds now. Now we'll check to see if it built, and it built. Cool, so it went in and it created this. So it's empty now. Let's check our inventory. So mparty, inventory, one item. All right, and it is a potion. Heals a small bit of health. Buy price 50, sell price 25, that makes sense. Item value. So, yep, that worked. It created our potion for us of type health. It's empty here because we used the move. So we moved this shared pointer from the creator into our inventory here. So now it's part of the inventory. And that worked for us. All right. So there is how we use the item creator to create an item. So now let's quickly go back in the item creator and do the same thing for creating equipment. So I'm going to do this one a little bit differently, but the same idea, because unlike items, equipment has properties, stat modifiers. Now we could forward those in, but I want to make it, we're going to be using these in a loader. And I just want you to try to read everything from a file eventually and load it in. You'll see it when we do it. You don't have to do it this way if you don't like. You can just do it the other way, but this is the way that I want to do it. So we'll do that. So template, class. We want variable and number of arguments. Static. Shared pointer of equipment this time. Create equipment, and that will take equipment type, also be a type, but this one will also take in weapon properties, armor properties, down as well, and stat modifier as well. But it also needs the variable number of arguments, so here we're doing the same thing. We're returning the abstract pointer for equipment. So we want the equipment and our weapons and armors and accessories are child, so we'll be returning it. The only difference is I want to send in weapon prop and armor prop. Might seem like we could probably do something else to make it probably just use arg. But I want to do this just because I found it easier when loading the files. We don't have to have a bunch of if statements later. We just send in, if it's empty, it'll read from the file, look for armor properties. If it doesn't have any properties, it'll just send in an empty armor property object. Same with weapons, same with stats. So just send them in as empty. And as you see here in equipment, the weapon properties is empty. We'll have attack power 0, no, not a weapon. That's basically what it's just sending in. When we're reading in from a file later on, well, we're going to get into reading in all the items and equipment from files. If it has nothing, it'll be an empty armor property, empty weapon property, empty stat modifiers. So those will just be put in there then. And then the arguments for when creating the weapon. So switch, type, type, case, equipment, equip type, weapon, armor, accessory, no type returns null pointer. Like another time. Alright. And our default will do the same. So we're going to have to do that later. We don't have to do that here because we do have armor. So we're going to have to take in our arguments and then armor props and stat modifier. Same with weapon. But this won't take in armor props, this will take in weapon props. So this will forward in all the arguments before weapon props and the stat modifier. It should work. So let's test this out. Go back into game state. So we added our item. Cool. Let's do the same thing. Auto. Let's just call it a sword. Item. Creator. Create equipment. What do we want to create? We want to create equipment. Equip type. Weapon. So if it's a weapon, we want to send in our weapon properties. So here we can have attack power. We'll do that 15. And the weapon type. What type of weapon do we want this to be? Let's go weapon. So we have to put weapon properties first. Weapon type. And we want this to be a sword. There's our weapon properties. Here we can just send in an empty armor properties. Just put a column here. Stat modifier. Do I want to create a modifier? Modifier. What's the constructor? So we need a val. So let's put like 3. Modifier type. modifier type and strength, and then we'll have no elemental type, so we can just leave that blank. And let's put arguments. So what are the arguments that we need for a weapon? So a weapon, we're going to need name, description, buy price, sell price. We could probably get rid of that and just have that done in the middle. So buy price and sell price and description. So let's put that in. Name, call it short sword. Description, a small sword of shabby material. That's what we'll call it. We could call it different stuff. Buy price. Oh wait. So the weapon property. So buy price, I believe that was. Let's go back, sorry. Buy price, sell price. Okay. Buy price. Let's just say 100, sell price 50. And that should work. So same thing, and party, get inventory. Add equipment, SD move, sword. So let's copy this real quick. Change this to chest armor. Change equipment type to armor. Weapon properties to empty. 10, the armor type. Type is chest body. Stat modifier, we'll do the same, just leave it like that. And we'll just say chest plate, a sturdy chest plate made of iron. So just same prices, and let's move chest armor in as well, and see if it's worked. Do you have a breakpoint here? Nope, it didn't work. Weapon, whoops. Go again. Awesome, so it made it all the way to here. So let's check our party, check our inventory. We can do it here actually. So right here, let's go to autos. Right here we have M party, open it up. Our inventory, we have items size 1, equipment size 2, if that makes sense. Go to our equipment. And here, 0 and 1. Pointer, we have a weapon, small sword with its description, attack power, everything was created nicely. Beautiful armor, chest plates, sturdy piece chest plates made of iron. Cool. So there you go. So that there is our item creator class. So feel free if you want to go around and create more items, create more weapons. You can even figure out how to do these on your own. How to create your own revive item and what it's going to do, status effect. Obviously that's spelled wrong. You'll see little mistakes here and there, but you can go through and start working on these yourself if you want, or you can wait for me to get into it later on. That's up to you. But this should work for you for an item creator. This is a little factory pattern that we used here. And so in the next video, we're going to get into creating menus. And then from menus, we can start looking on how we're going to actually read in items from files. All right, I look forward to seeing you next time.